Heartwarming twist. Millionaire's mom discovers incredible truth behind son's girlfriend's haircare routine. In the quaint suburb of Maplewood, the air was thick with anticipation. Rebecca, a devoted waitress at the local diner, hurried home, stirring memories of countless shifts and sacrifices she had made for her son, James. At 38, she was the embodiment of the American dream, wearing her tiredness like a badge. With every dollar earned, she clung to dreams of a brighter future for James, now in college, bustling with ambition. But tonight was different. As the clock ticked closer to dinner, dread bubbled inside her. Claire, the daughter of a wealthy family, was coming over. All day, Rebecca's heart races at the thought of this dinner. She wondered, with ravenous anxiety, what Claire's family might think of her modest, albeit loving, home. Her kitchen, meant to be a warm haven, now felt like a warning sign, a marker of her struggles. Would Claire's family disdain their simple life? Rebecca clenched her fists, pushing those thoughts away. This was James' happiness, and she had to keep her fears in check. For him, as the doorbell rang, Rebecca took a deep breath. James welcomed Claire and her parents with a beaming smile, his enthusiasm infectious. The clashing worlds between Rebecca's humble life and Claire's upscale upbringing were evident. Glistening pearls and tailored suits stood before worn-out jeans and a floral apron. Awkward conversation flickered in the air like fading candlelight, only to be punctuated by polite laughter that felt as thin as paper. Yet, as Claire engaged with polite curiosity, Rebecca couldn't shake her worries. What were Claire's true intentions? Did this privileged girl really love her son? Or was he just a fleeting fancy in a lavish lifestyle? Her thoughts spiraled as she caught a fragment of whispered sentence between Claire and her mother. "He won't understand our world. Darling, that was it." A crack opened in her heart, raw and bleeding. Fueled by protectiveness, Rebecca confronted Claire after dinner, snipping sharp as she spat out her thoughts. "What do you really want with my son?" It hit like thunder. Claire's eyes widened, hurt evident as the air froze around them. This was too much. Silence hovered, thick and suffocating. James was in a whirlwind of loyalty and love, torn between his two essential women. By the end of the night, the warmth of that familial gathering had fractured. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As rumors of trouble in Claire's upscale world surfaced, legal battles looming over her father's company, clutching emotional burdens, she turned to Rebecca seeking solace. Their prior confrontation faded away, leaving room for vulnerability. As they navigated their mutual troubles, they began revealing themselves beyond their tailored roles. Claire confessed how she volunteered in less affluent neighborhoods, bridging the gap she felt from far away. In a moment of connection, Rebecca saw past the wealthy facade. They were both women shaped by experiences, perhaps even allies. Would this newfound understanding blossom into friendship, or would these lingering doubts pull them apart again? As tensions simmered and hope flickered, Rebecca and Claire soon stood at a precipice, ready to confront not only their differences but also their shared human experiences in a world divided by class. Would they find a way to mend the fractures? And, crucially, could James reconcile his two heartbreaks into one healing journey? As the days rolled into a new week, the tension between Rebecca and Claire hung in the air like a thick fog, but the spark of understanding they had discovered that night lingered, unwilling to be snuffed out. The following Saturday, Rebecca was in the kitchen, the smell of garlic and oregano wafting through the air, when James burst through the door, his face alive with excitement. "Mom, you won't believe it. Claire has this charity event coming up, and she invited me. It's for the community center where I volunteer." His eyes sparkled, bringing a rush of warmth to Rebecca's heart. Yet, The mention of another opportunity for Claire and James to mingle with the elite sent a wave of uneasiness through her. "That's great, honey," she replied, trying to veil her concern. "Just be careful. You know how things can be." Mom, James interrupted. His brow furrowed slightly, a parental tone creeping into his voice. "I really like Claire. She's different. You've got to see that." She nodded, but inside, doubt lingered like an unwelcome guest. The complex web of their lives seemed to stretch even further. Would Claire still be invested in their community efforts, or would the allure of privilege overshadow her intentions? With dinner over, James stood leaning against the counter, scrolling through his phone, visibly distracted by the excitement of preparing for the event. Later that week, a car pulled up outside, and Rebecca heard the familiar sound of laughter. Claire arrived, dressed in a simple sundress, her cheeks flushed with the sunlight. The carefree aura she radiated had a way of breaking down barriers, just as the last shadows of doubt waned in Rebecca's heart. "Rebecca," Claire greeted warmly, with an openness that was starting to feel natural. "I came to see if you'd help me with some ideas for the gala. I wanted to be focused on the neighborhood, highlight some of the projects we're working on." As they worked together, Rebecca felt the ice around her heart cracking. Hours passed, and the two women bounced creative ideas off each other, laughing over shared experiences and stories. Claire shared memories of her volunteering days, recounting moments that had changed her perspective on life. Rebecca, in turn, shared tales of her struggles as a single mother, reminding Claire that beneath all that glitz was a story that deeply resonated with her. That night, as Rebecca lay in bed, she felt lighter than she had in a long time. The sense of purpose that came from contributing to something greater erased fear and replaced it with hope. However, beneath the growing camaraderie, uncertainty lingered. Claire was caught up in a chaotic world, the legal troubles with her father's company looming like a stormy night. She had mentioned it to Rebecca in passing, but details remained hidden. How much pressure was Claire under, and how might that affect her relationship with James? When the gala night finally arrived, the town hall sparkled with fairy lights and laughter. The two women stood side by side, their bond palpable as they welcomed guests, smiling their way through the crowd. Yet, as Claire spotted her father enter the venue with an anxious expression, Rebecca couldn't help but feel a chill. What would happen when the pressures of wealth crumbled the fragile connection they had built? It was a moment poised to shape everything. Hope and worry mingling together. James watched them from afar, oblivious to the storm brewing as they faced the crowd. Would they be able to hold on to what they began, or would the impending chaos scatter their newfound friendship and threaten James' happiness forever? The night was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. The air was electric as the evening unfolded. Guests mingled, laughter echoing through the hall. But beneath the surface, tension bubbled like barely contained fireworks. Rebecca caught a glimpse of Claire across the room, her smile bright but her eyes betraying an edge of concern. Moments later, Claire's father strode in, confidence radiating from him in waves. With each step, the clink of his cufflinks resonated, an unsettling reminder of wealth present even in a charity event meant to uplift. Clara's approach to welcoming him was strained, her shoulder muscles tight, as if bracing for an impact. Rebecca's heart sank. She had seen that tension before in herself. The fight to keep familial relations from overshadowing the joy of the evening gnawed at her. She glanced at James, who was deep in conversation with a fellow volunteer, blissfully unaware of the shadows hovering just beyond him. "An event to remember, eh?" a nearby voice said, startling Rebecca from her thoughts. It was Margaret, an old friend she hadn't seen in ages, who seemed to know how to lighten the mood effortlessly. "It feels wonderful," Rebecca replied, forcing a smile. "Thanks to Claire. Isn't she something?" Margaret's gaze trailed toward Claire, whose delicate laugh rang clear, even amid the chatter. "I heard she pulled this event together last minute, right? She has a way about her." Rebecca agreed, her tone caught between admiration and concern. Margaret eyed Rebecca knowingly, a smile touching her lips. "You should join her in the spotlight more. She could use a partner with your heart for these things." As Rebecca shared tales of her own community efforts, she was struck by the sincerity in Margaret's words. She could understand the power of working alongside someone who felt equally passionate. Their shared aspirations could inspire more than either of them believed. But just as quickly as that thought bloomed, another wave of doubt crashed over her. Claire's father began scanning the room like a hawk looking for prey. Rebecca could see the flicker of discomfort in Claire's expression as she gently excused herself from a group of friends and approached him. "Dad, it's so great you came," Claire began, her voice steady but softer than it had been. Rebecca felt her chest tighten watching the two of them. The air felt thick, pressing down on her. "Claire, this event is an opportunity for us," he replied, his words marked by an edge of impatience. It was easy to see he was more interested in networking than his daughter's passion. Rebecca's heart ached at the scene unfolding. Claire stood poised, yet visibly strained, trying to balance her personal hopes against the expectations of someone she clearly respected, yet feared. Glancing toward James, who was eagerly discussing the center's projects with another volunteer, Rebecca felt hope mix with anxiety. This relationship meant everything to him and maybe to Claire too. Could this be their chance? She took a deep breath, standing a little taller, resolved to support Claire's burgeoning confidence against her father's looming shadow. Overcoming had always been at the heart of Rebecca's story, and tonight, she wouldn't shy away. "Hey, Claire," Rebecca called, stepping forward to bridge the gap, her voice steady. "Want to share the stage with us for a moment?" Claire turned, eyes wide with surprise, but as she met Rebecca's gaze, the tension eased. Taking that moment to shift the energy, Claire nodded, stepping away from her father's imposing figure. Together, they entered the spotlight, ready to unveil the heart of their cause and the vibrant spirit of their community. But as they took the microphone, the lights dimmed, and the hard truths of the night loomed closer. How would Claire respond to her father's expectations? What revelation waited just beyond this moment? Regardless of the outcome, their choices now would define bonds that stretched beyond one night. And in the weight of it all, a question lingered. Would they rise together, or would they collapse beneath the weight of the world they tried to navigate? The lights brightened slowly, casting a warm glow over the audience. Rebecca and Claire stood shoulder to shoulder on the stage, hearts pounding in sync. The hushed crowd turned to them, anticipation filling the air. Rebecca could feel the weight of the moment, a blend of fear and exhilaration swirling within her. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Claire's clear voice rang out, cutting through the tension. "This event is not just about raising funds. It's about building a community where everyone feels seen and heard." Rebecca felt gratitude swell inside her. Claire's words were more than just a speech. They were a lifeline. Together, they could reshape the narrative around this charity event, transforming it from a showcase of wealth to a testament of hope. But there was still an edge in Claire's voice that Rebecca recognized all too well, a tremor that hinted at the struggle bubbling beneath the surface. As Rebecca stepped forward to speak, she caught a glimpse of Claire's father, his arms crossed tightly, a frown etched on his face. He was watching with a mix of disbelief and disappointment. In that moment, Rebecca understood the battle Claire faced not just with expectations, but within her own heart. "Tonight we celebrate what we can achieve together," Rebecca began, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "Each of you can make a difference, no matter how small. Every dollar contributes to a brighter future." She looked out into the crowd, warmth radiating from her words. "But let us not forget the stories behind those dollars. That's what matters most." Claire shot her an encouraging smile, the pressure in her expression easing bit by bit. Rebecca could almost see Claire's internal walls crumbling, her true self beginning to shine through the facade built by family expectations. As they continued to speak about the charity's mission, the importance of supporting youth programs, mental health resources, and community engagement, it became clear the audience was deeply engaged. Laughter and nodding heads filled the room, and for the first time that night, Claire's father began to shift, perhaps realizing how much this truly mattered. Yet, amidst the joy, a flicker of doubt tugged at Rebecca's heart. Would it be enough to sway the man who had no patience for anything less than perfection? As they wrapped up their presentation, Rebecca felt Claire's fingers brush against hers, a small gesture, yet significant. It was a reminder that they were in this together. The crowd erupted in applause, and Rebecca felt elation wash over her. They had managed to spark something. But just as they stepped down from the stage, Claire's father strode toward them, face set in a steely mask. "Impressive performance," he remarked with forced politeness, though the tension in his voice did not match his words. "But you do realize this is just a jumping-off point, don't you? The real work begins now." Claire bit her lip, her earlier confidence waning. "I know that, Dad. But I think we showed them tonight that together, we can. I hope you also realize the stakes," he interrupted sharply, his gaze cutting through Claire's fragile optimism. "People expect results, not just pretty speeches." Rebecca felt a cold knot in her stomach. Claire needed her support now more than ever. "Tonight wasn't about expectations, sir," Rebecca interjected, her voice firm. "It was about inspiration, and we're willing to take that first step together." The air hung thick with tension, and Claire's eyes widened, surprised by Rebecca's boldness. Would this bring her father around, or only create a deeper rift? The room felt like it was humming, a storm building just beneath the surface. Claire's father frowned, assessing both women with a measuring gaze. "You can inspire all you want, but reality will set in. Let us hope your enthusiasm holds up when faced with real challenges." And with that ominous note hanging in the air, he turned, leaving Claire and Rebecca standing together on the edge of uncertainty. "Dad," Claire whispered, her voice tremulous. Rebecca squeezed her hand, grounding her. "You did wonderfully, Claire. We'll figure this out together." But in her heart, Rebecca couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something far more complicated than either of them had anticipated. What would be the true cost of confronting Claire's father, and would their intentions endure the heart-wrenching tests ahead? The night was still young, and the path forward felt both hopeful and perilous. The chatter in the room faded as Claire lowered her head, a cloud of doubt settling over her. Rebecca felt the weight of their shared uncertainty. She was determined to lift Claire's spirits, to remind her that they were in this together, that they would face whatever came next as partners, not just in this venture, but in life. "Let us take a moment," Rebecca said, guiding Claire toward a quieter corner of the room. Bright lights still bathed the dance floor, but here was a sanctuary of soft whispers and distant laughter. "You did incredible out there. You were authentic, and that's what matters." Claire met Rebecca's gaze, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But what if it wasn't enough? What if he's right? What if we can't cover the costs of everything we want to do with just words?" A tremor laced her voice, each word a fragile admission. "Hey," Rebecca said gently, tilting her head to catch Claire's gaze. "You know your dad. He's driven by results, sure. But this isn't just about the money. We've ignited something tonight. Look at them." She gestured to the crowd, who were now mingling, discussing the very ideas Claire and Rebecca had shared. "People are talking. They're excited. That's the first step." Claire took a shaky breath, and Rebecca felt her heart race as she held on to hope that Claire truly believed her words. "I just want him to be proud of me," Claire whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to prove that I can make a difference, without losing myself in the process." "You are enough just as you are," Rebecca said, her voice filled with conviction. "You don't have to change for him, Claire. This is about what you believe in." The moment hung between them, charged with emotion. Claire's strength had always inspired Rebecca, but now it seemed as if the very core of their resolve was being tested. After what felt like an eternity, Claire nodded slowly, her smile tentative but genuine. "Okay, let us keep pushing forward." Just then, a commotion arose at the other end of the room. A moment later, a voice pierced through the noise. "Could everyone please gather around?" A well-dressed woman had taken the stage, her presence commanding. Claire and Rebecca exchanged puzzled glances. Curiosity piqued. They moved closer to the crowd, weaving between the patrons, still buzzing from the speeches. With each step, Rebecca felt a sense of anticipation building, a current of energy passing through the crowd. The woman on stage, Claire's mother, cleared her throat before speaking. I know tonight has been filled with passion and purpose. I also know that my husband, while tough, ultimately cares about our community. Rebecca's instinct was to shift toward Claire for comfort, but Claire stood frozen, her expression a mix of confusion and hope. What is she doing? She murmured. Before Rebecca could answer, Mrs. Thatcher continued, I've been watching from the sidelines, too. And I'm here to tell you that I've been completely moved by tonight's message. I want to support this initiative. Gasps rippled through the audience, Claire's breath hitching in disbelief. And more than just support, I have an announcement. Mrs. Thatcher glanced around the room, her gaze searching, until it found Claire's. I'm going to match your donations tonight, dollar for dollar. The room erupted. Shock quickly turned to wild applause and cheering. Rebecca felt the thrill rush through her, but she noticed Claire standing still, her wide eyes reflecting a swirling mix of emotions. What did this mean for them? Would this change everything? Claire finally looked at Rebecca, her voice barely a whisper above the ruckus. But before Rebecca could respond, Claire's father pushed through the crowd, his expression darkening as he caught sight of his wife on stage. In that moment, the tide of the night shifted dramatically, teasing a future filled with uncertainty and potential. What would this mean for Claire and for them? As the applause faded into murmurs, Rebecca sensed a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Claire's heart raced as her father's presence loomed over the stage, like a shadow threatening to eclipse the light Mrs. Thatcher had just shed on the room. She'd never seen him look so furious. It was as if the very air had thickened, and Claire felt every pair of eyes suddenly aware of the brewing tension. James, Mrs. Thatcher addressed her husband, her voice steady yet warm, but Claire already could sense the storm gathering inside him. I thought we were in this together. Is that what this is? James's voice cut through the applause, confusion and anger mixing into his words. This initiative you're backing? It seems like a publicity stunt, waltzing about in front of our friends. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Excitement turned to discomfort as Claire's heart sank. She wanted to scream. This was not how tonight was supposed to go. Dad, please. Claire broke her silence, her voice trembling but firm. This is important. It's not just about recognition or money. We're creating change. His eyes narrowed as the crowd grew silent. Changing what exactly? With a speech and a couple of dance moves? Rebecca squeezed Claire's hand in support but felt the cold breath of anxiety creeping in. She wished she could jump in, to shield Claire from the words that cut like knives. Mrs. Thatcher stepped forward. James, they're doing remarkable work. This is about more than just financial returns. It's about hope and community. I believe in the vision they've shared. James crossed his arms, his expression fierce. And what happens when the excitement dies? Who's going to pay the bills then? Claire's mind raced. Was her father really this disconnected? She wanted nothing more than to prove him wrong. But every question he posed felt like a punch to her gut. I'll find a way, Dad. I promise, Claire said, desperation creeping into her voice. I won't let this fail. Finding a way is not enough, he retorted sharply. Sometimes passion isn't enough. You need passion is exactly what this community needs. Claire interrupted, her voice rising above her father's skepticism. You've taught me that people need to feel supported. We're going to lift them up. A moment of silence hung in the air, the tension palpable. Claire could feel the weight of everyone's gaze, each moment dragging painfully as her father processed her words. She clung to Rebecca, whose steady presence offered a semblance of strength. Finally, Claire's mother broke the silence, her voice calm yet fierce. James, if they fail trying something meaningful. Isn't that better than never trying at all? Minutes passed, the room still, as Claire's father wrestled with his emotions. Betrayal and disappointment flickered across his face. I just want the best for you, Claire. But if you think this is the answer suddenly, Claire felt emboldened, a swell of determination rising in her chest. It might not be the answer, but it's a start. Any lingering doubts from the crowd muted by the tension. But now there was a glimmer of hope. She realized that maybe, just maybe, their voices could matter. their actions could spark change as her father turned to leave the stage, his expression a mixture of confusion and frustration. All Claire could do was breathe. She wanted to cry with relief and disappointment at the same time. Rebecca leaned closer, her whispers barely audible through the fading murmurs. "You showed courage, Claire. Regardless of what he thinks, that speech everything we're on the right track." Before Claire could respond, whispers from the crowd began again, rippling through the air with a growing excitement. "Looks like there's more to discuss." Rebecca nodded toward the group gathering nearby. As they stepped away from the chaos, Claire couldn't help but wonder. Would her father ever understand? Would this night mark the moment everything shifted or merely deepen the divide between them? With so many questions swirling, Claire stood tall, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But would her father's disappointment forever shadow their dreams? The stage was set for a confrontation that could change everything. The gathering buzzed with hushed conversations, Claire's heart still racing. She caught snippets of excitement and concern, the air vibrating with the aftermath of her father's confrontation. As her eyes scanned the room, she felt the tug of uncertainty. The crowd that had once cheered now seemed divided, some questioning the initiative while others rallied behind her. Claire took a deep breath. "We have to move forward," she said, steadier now, her voice rising again above the chatter. "We can't let this moment define us. Let us hear what the community has to say." Rebecca nodded, moving to the front with Claire. "You're right. We need to open the floor. Let people express their thoughts. This is about them." They stepped toward a small stage on the side where the microphone still stood. The initial spotlight faded, but the flicker of hope remained. With a quick glance at Rebecca, Claire pursed her lips, fighting against the lingering disappointment in her father's eyes. She would not allow their vision to dim. A brave soul from the audience stepped into the light. "I think what you're doing is amazing. My son struggles to feel included, and this initiative makes him feel seen. We need more of this." Claire's heart lifted. This was the spark of connection she craved. As more voices joined in, sharing stories of their struggles, affirming the purpose behind their efforts, her confidence began to swell. But inside, doubt whispered. Would this be enough? Could they truly make a difference against the odds her father had laid out so starkly? Suddenly, the crowd parted, and a woman emerged. Claire recognized her instantly as Mrs. Jensen. A longtime neighbor, but someone Claire hadn't really spoken to in years. "Claire," Mrs. Jensen called out, her voice slicing through the noise. "When I heard about your efforts, I was skeptical. I wondered if you could really uplift everyone. But hearing you tonight, I see your passion. It's important. We all need to share our stories, not just for ourselves, but for those who feel unheard. I want to help." Claire blinked back tears, the warmth filling her chest. "Thank you, Mrs. Jensen. We need everyone's help. Together we can create a change bigger than we can imagine." The crowd was shifting, the murmurs changing from doubt to resolve. Claire shot a quick glance at Rebecca, who wore a bright smile. The night unfolded beautifully, conversation after conversation bridging the gap her father had threatened to widen. They exchanged ideas about community events, brought everyone together around shared passions, and slowly the room began to pulse with unity. But even amid the hopeful dialogue, Claire couldn't shake the unease about her father. She glanced toward where he stood, only to find him, still lurking by the exit, arms crossed, an inscrutable expression painted across his face. Suddenly, Claire's phone buzzed in her pocket, jarring her from her thoughts. It was a notification from her father's business email. He forwarded an article about a similar initiative that had fallen apart in another state. The subject line read, "This is why passion fails." Claire's stomach turned, a new wave of anxiety washing over her. Would he never understand? As the crowd continued to boost each other's spirits, Claire felt an urge to confront this looming doubt. It was time to ask the difficult questions, to challenge the fears that hung heavy like a storm cloud over them. "Rebecca," Claire breathed, as the last speaker concluded. "What if we turned this around? Instead of focusing on our project failing, what if we moved toward creating our own success?" Rebecca's eyes sparkled with curious determination. "How do you want to do that?" Claire took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty still heavy but slowly transforming into possibility. Let us confront my dad. He may have his doubts, but we need to show him the passion is real. Maybe we can turn his skepticism into a strength. Rebecca smiled, her support unshakable. Lead the way, Claire. This is your battle, and I'm with you. Claire straightened, determination hardening into resolve. It was time to face not just her father's fears but also her own. If they could create a wave of change here, who knew how far it could ripple outwards? The excitement of the crowd faded slightly, leaving Claire with a thrilling sense of purpose. She stepped toward the exit, heart pounding not just for what lay ahead, but for the possibility of finally inviting her father into the light of understanding. But would he be willing to join her? Or would this moment shatter their trust forever? Only one way to find out. As Claire stepped through the crowded hall, the pulsating energy from the gathering receded into a quiet thrum in her ears. Each footstep toward the exit fueled her anxiety. She felt the electric buzz of hope around her, but couldn't shake the shadow of her father's disapproval looming just a few steps away. Are you ready? Rebecca's soft voice broke through Claire's thoughts. She nodded, even though her heart raced and her throat tightened. Taking a moment to breathe, Claire focused on the purpose that pushed her forward. With Rebecca beside her, Claire approached her father. He stood at the edge of the gathering, framed by the dim light coming from the stage. Arms still crossed, he looked more like a fortress than the man she had always admired. Claire swallowed hard. Dad, she started, her voice trembling slightly. Is this really the best time, Claire? He interrupted, a hint of frustration creeping into his voice. You've captured their attention, sure, but this one last. You're throwing your time and energy into a pointless endeavor. His words hit like stones dropped from a great height. Claire felt the blood rush to her face, the urge to yell rising within her. But she took a breath instead, leaning into the discomfort. But that's just it. It's not pointless. People believe in this and I believe in it too. We can do something great if we work together. He shook his head, the set of his jaw firm. Belief doesn't pay the bills or guarantee support. Look at your mother and me. We built a life on hard truths, Claire, not dreams. Rebecca stepped forward, sensing the tension. Mr. Walker, what your daughter is trying to say is that we have a chance to make real change here. We want to show you that this isn't just a passing phase. It's about building something lasting. Claire's heart raced as she watched her friend stand up to her father. Would he listen? She could see the glimmer of interest in his eyes, but the skepticism remained. My hesitation is rooted in experience. Rebecca, there's an entire world beyond passion. It's full of real challenges. Look at what happened to the initiative you shared in your email, Claire. There are no guarantees. His voice softened just a touch, but his eyes were still unyielding. Please, Dad, Claire implored, stepping closer. Just give us a chance. Meet with our volunteers. See the stories we're ready to share, the lives we could impact together. We can build something that lasts. The silence between them thickened, as if the air itself held its breath. Claire felt a flicker of something. Was it hope? Her father's tough exterior had never been easy to crack. Yet now, it felt like a hinge had begun to loosen. He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. I spent my life in business. I know what it takes to succeed. What makes you think this is any different? Because it's not just business, Claire replied, urgency rising. This is community. This is connection. You taught me that success isn't just about money. It's about the people who help you along the way. Can you see that? For a fleeting moment, her father's stony facade seemed to waver. The hardness in his gaze softened, the corners of his mouth tugging slightly upwards. A flicker of the father she missed was there. Good memories flashed in her mind, family dinners, laughter, and dreams shared. Then, as quick as it appeared, the moment was gone. His expression darkened again. I can't just approve of this without seeing real results. If you truly want to make change, prove to me it's possible. Her heart sank. Prove it. His words were a challenge, a dare almost, but it stoked the fire inside of her. She nodded resolutely. I will. We will. Just give us time. He turned slightly, his silhouette casting shadows against the bright lights behind him. Time, Claire, I senti something I have in excess. As he walked away, Claire felt a rush of familiar determination. She had to show him they were serious. This wouldn't just affect her future. It was their entire community hanging in the balance. Let us make a plan, she whispered, rallying Rebecca back to her side. If I can't convince him tonight, I'll do it through results. We'll make him a believer. Rebecca grinned. I'm with you. Let us gather our team and demonstrate what we've started. We'll show him the passion is real. As they moved to gather their supporters, Claire felt a weight lift just slightly. Maybe her father wasn't the enemy she thought. Maybe this was what they needed, a chance to build understanding where doubt once stood. But deep down, a lingering worry flared. Could they really pull it off? What if they failed? Only one way to find out. The next morning, as sunlight streamed into her small apartment, Claire sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by notes and ideas scribbled on colorful sticky pads. With Rebecca's help, she spent the night brainstorming ways to showcase their community initiative. Each note was a stepping stone toward proving her father wrong. Okay, so maybe we can organize a fundraising event, Rebecca proposed, biting her pen. Something that highlights our mission. Maybe a community fair? Claire nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. Yes, we could invite local artisans, food vendors, and have workshops. Could really bring people together while showcasing what we're doing. Rebecca's eyes sparkled. And we could share some personal stories from those we've already impacted. That would really resonate. Each idea they tossed back and forth ignited a spark in Claire's heart. This wasn't just about proving a point to her father. It was about gathering her community for something positive. They were building a bridge, one that could unite their efforts and create real change. However, as they planned, a wave of doubt washed over Claire. What if they put all this energy into the event and it flopped? What if they couldn't draw a crowd? Would her father see it as yet another failed dream? Claire, Rebecca said, sensing her friend's hesitation. You need to believe in this. Remember, your passion is what drove you to start this in the first place. It's contagious. Claire smiled weakly, but internally, her heart was racing. She pushed the doubts aside. You're right. Let us set a date. I can use social media to spread the word, and I'll go door to door. People will want to join in once they hear what we're doing. With renewed focus, they mapped out a timeline, and soon, excitement filled the air. As the days led up to the fair, Claire dedicated herself fully to the cause. She found a rhythm in her work, writing emails, contacting vendors, arranging logistics. Each task brought her closer to their vision. But not everything was smooth sailing. Struggles emerged. Vendors canceling, funding issues, and the relentless ticking of the clock. Each time a setback occurred, doubt whispered in her ear, reminding her of her father's words. Prove it, he said. But with every challenge they faced, Claire's resolve only seemed to strengthen. She would prove not just her father wrong, but also the whispers of doubt lurking within her. On the morning of the fair, Claire stood at the park's entrance, heart pounding with anticipation. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, while the smell of fresh food wafted through the air. Laughter echoed from children darting between the booths. As the hours passed, the crowd grew, and Claire's excitement transformed into disbelief. People filled the space, drawn by the energy of connection. Each smile reminded her of what they had accomplished together, and as stories were shared, Claire could sense a shift, a community beginning to revive. Then, like a ripple in the crowd, she noticed a familiar figure, her father. He stood just at the edge of the festivities, arms crossed but with a different expression. This time it wasn't scorn or disappointment. It was curiosity. Claire's heart raced. Would he step forward? Would he see what she saw? Would this day change everything between them? As she locked eyes with him, the uncertainty swelled within her. Could this be the moment she proved her worth? Would her father's heart soften with what he witnessed? A mix of hope and fear coursed through her. But before she could take a step toward him, the sound of cheering erupted. The crowd had gathered for a performance. turning their attention away. Claire felt the moment slip. Would her father leave, and with him the chance for understanding? Claire. Rebecca called out, breaking her focus. Are you coming? We need your announcement. Right? Claire said, her voice trembling. But would she have the courage to make it count? With her father still watching from afar, Claire stepped toward the microphone, heart pounding wildly. This is for our community, she began, scanning the crowd for familiar faces before looking back at her father. Together, we can make a difference. As her words rang out, she prayed he felt their weight. But would he see it as a promise or another empty dream? Would this be the breakthrough she longed for? Only the next moments would reveal the truth. The moment Claire took a deep breath and stepped forward to the microphone felt monumental. The crowd waited, hungry for her words, and Claire felt the pulse of their energy envelop her. She glanced at her father, still standing at the edge, watching intently, and for a flickering second, there was a flicker of hope in her heart. Thank you for being here today, she started, her voice confident, even as nerves tingled at her fingertips. What we created together today is more than just a fair. It's a testament to the strength of our community, a community that believes in support, in inspiration, and in each other. A wave of applause washed over her, the kind that resonated deeply as people began nodding and smiling, their faces aglow with warmth and recognition. The conversations around her thrummed with excitement. This was real. This mattered. No one can do this alone, Claire continued, her eyes scanning the crowd, seeking the familiar faces of those who had joined in on their journey. Every one of you has played a part in making this happen, sharing your stories, volunteering your time, opening your hearts to one another. That's what truly transforms lives. And then she caught her father's gaze again. The walls around him seemed to crack just a bit, but still he stood slightly apart, arms crossed. Claire took a deep breath, channeling her mom's words, her friend's encouragement, and all their shared dreams. This is not just an event. It is the beginning of a movement. And together, we can make sure that everyone feels heard and valued. This is our mission. Closer to the stage, Rebecca beamed, her support radiating the same light Claire poured into her words. The audience erupted with cheers, each clap an affirmation. But Claire knew there was still something left unspoken. Her dad needed to hear it, and she needed to share the truth about what this meant for all of them. Just then, Claire's voice turned softer. Dad, I know you have concerns. I know you want to protect me, but I need you to believe in this too, just like I believe in the goodness in our neighbors. Please come see what your daughter has built, a place for everyone to grow. Silence fell amid the cheering crowd as her father lifted his hands, palms facing forward, surrendering to the moment. A mixture of awe and love flickered in his eyes as the crowd began to chant. We believe. We believe. One step at a time, her father moved toward her, each stride slowly erasing the distance he had put between them. When he reached the edge of the stage, he paused, and the crowd hushed. Claire's heart raced, but she stood firm, her spirit unwavering. Would he truly accept what she had built? Claire's father started, clearing his throat, a tremor in his voice. I may not understand everything about this initiative, but I can see the passion in every person here. I see it in you, Claire. Hope surged within Claire, and she leaned forward, words teetering on the edge of her lips, ready for this moment to spark something deeper. Dad, I want you to join us. Together, we can show others the change we can make. He glanced over the crowd, and as he searched their faces filled with earnestness, something shifted again within him. All right, he said finally, voice steadying. I may not have believed before, but I want this to work. I want to support you, even if it takes me a while to understand. The crowd erupted into applause and cheers, the joy flooding through them like an uncontainable force. Claire felt tears prickle at her eyes as she saw her father's wall start to crumble, brick by brick. As he stepped up beside her, a new understanding threaded the bond between them, complicated but burgeoning with possibility. In that moment, Claire realized she hadn't just proven her worth to her father. She had lit a fire in her community, showing everyone that change was possible. Feeling renewed, Claire added, "Let us work together. We will create lasting connections. Not just for today but for every tomorrow." And the crowd responded, filled with energy and a commitment to go forward. Together, as laughter filled the air and children ran amongst the booths, Claire turned to her father, and they hugged. It was a moment of embrace filled with reconciliation, and she felt the warmth settle deep within her heart as the sun began dipping below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the park. The spark of hope turned into a blaze of possibility, not just within their community, but within their family. Together they had built something incredible, and Claire knew, despite the challenges ahead, this night was just the beginning. She was ready for what came next, and she knew they would face it together. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, because this is just the beginning. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us keep our community thriving. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. How did it touch you? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share the journey of hope and resilience that can inspire us all.